Sept of Baelor stands silent in the morning sun. Thousands have gathered to witness justice, or what passes for it, in King's Landing. Ned Stark kneels on the stone steps, his hands bound, his honour shattered. Around his neck hangs the weight of false confession. Traitor, conspirator. The words taste like ash in his mouth, but he has spoken them. For Sansa, for Arya, for whatever mercy a boy king might show. High above, Joffrey Baratheon, who is no Baratheon at all, sits on the Iron Throne's portable seat, golden hair catching the light, cruel mouth curved in a smile. Beside him stands his mother, Cersei Lannister, her face a mask of satisfied victory. She has won. The honourable Ned Stark who discovered her secret, who threatened her children, who would have destroyed everything she built. He kneels in chains, broken. I am Ned Stark, Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North, Ned's voice carries across the silent crowd. Each word is a knife in his throat. I come before you to confess my treason. I betrayed the faith of my king and the trust of my friend, Robert. I swore to defend and protect his children, yet before his blood was cold, I plotted to murder his son and seize the throne for myself. Lies, all lies, but lies told to save his daughters' lives. In the crowd, hidden beneath a hood, Arya Stark watches her father, with tears streaming down her face. Yoren of the Night's Watch holds her shoulder, ready to pull her away, ready to spirit her north to safety. But she cannot look away. She must see this. On the platform, Sansa Stark stands between Sept of Baelor and the royal family, her face pale as snow. She has been promised her father will be spared. Joffrey swore it. Her prince, her betrothed, her king, he promised mercy. Lord Varys whispers urgently in Joffrey's ear. Grand Maester Pycelle clutches his chain nervously. Even Littlefinger leans close, his words soft and quick. They all say the same thing. Send him to the wall, show mercy. It's what the realm expects. Cersei's eyes narrow. She knows her son, she knows his cruelty. For one terrible moment, she sees the truth in his expression. The boy is going to kill Ned Stark. He's going to ignore counsel, ignore politics, ignore his mother, and take the traitor's head just because he can. No, Cersei hisses, her hand gripping Joffrey's arm with surprising force. We discussed this. The wall, exile. It's the wise choice. But Joffrey has never been wise. He stands. The crowd falls silent. Sansa's breath catches. My mother wishes me to let Lord Eddard join the Night's Watch, Joffrey announces, his voice carrying across the sept. The crowd stirs. Ned closes his eyes, relief flooding through him. The wall, exile, dishonour, but life, a chance. Joffrey pauses, savouring the moment. Stripped of all lands and titles, to spend his days at the frozen edge of the world, guarding the realm in permanent exile. Sansa's face breaks into a trembling smile. He's keeping his promise. But then something shifts in Joffrey's expression. A flash of defiance. A need to prove he answers to no one. Not his mother, not his advisors, not mercy itself. And in that moment, Cersei sees it. She sees him begin to speak the words that will shatter the realm. She moves faster than she ever has. Her hand clamps over her son's mouth. Guards step forward, confused. The crowd gasps. It's undignified, shocking, the Queen Regent physically restraining the king. He goes to the wall, Cersei says loudly, firmly, brooking no argument. Her eyes bore into Joffrey's. Not this, not today. We need stability. We need the North to bend, not burn. For 5 heartbeats, mother and son are locked in silent war. Then Joffrey jerks away from her grip, his face flushed with rage and humiliation. But the moment has passed. To change his sentence now, after his mother's intervention, would make him look weak, controlled. Take him to the wall, Joffrey spits, each word dripping venom. Let the traitor freeze with the rapists and thieves. That's mercy enough. Cyril in pain, who had stepped forward with ice held high, stops. Slowly, he lowers the great Valyrian steel sword. Ned Stark breathes. One breath, then another. He's alive. And with that single gasp of air, with that one act of mercy forced upon a cruel boy king, the future of Westeros splits from the path it was meant to take. Everything changes. The Black Cells to Castle Black. They dress Eddard Stark in the black of the Night's Watch while he's still in the dungeons. The wool is rough against his skin, the chains heavy on his wrists. He is Lord of Winterfell no longer. He is nothing now, just another criminal bound for the wall. Yoren leads the caravan north, 30 men in chains, criminals and rapers and thieves, and one fallen lord. They travel the King's Road in a covered wagon, hidden from view. The realm must not see what's become of Honourable Ned Stark. Some humiliations are too dangerous to display. But in the shadows of that wagon, in the darkness of early morning before the caravan departs King's Landing, a hooded figure slips aboard. Arya Stark is small enough to hide among the supplies, quick enough to evade notice, and desperate enough to follow her father anywhere, even to the end of the world. Yoren finds her the first night, huddled behind a barrel of salt pork. He should turn back. He should return her to the Red Keep. But he looks at her face, all fierce determination and quiet grief, and sees Ned Stark's eyes staring back at him. "You'll work," he grunts. "You'll keep your head down. You're a boy now, understand? Name's Arry. You're nobody. Just another orphan I picked up." Arya nods. She's been nobody before. She can be nobody again. The journey north takes weeks. Ned says little, lost in his own darkness. The shame of his confession eats at him. He betrayed everything he believed in. Honour, truth, duty. He lied before gods and men. He died in that sept, even if his body still draws breath. But Arya watches him, and slowly, carefully, she reveals herself. It happens on a cold night, 20 days north of King's Landing. Ned sits alone by the fire, staring into flames that remind him of the pyre where they burned his father and brother. A small figure settles beside him. "Father," Arya whispers. Ned's head snaps around. For a moment he doesn't recognize her, this dirty-faced boy, with short-cropped hair and hollow eyes. Then recognition hits like a hammer blow. "Arya," his voice breaks. "Gods, Arya, what have you done?" "I couldn't leave you," she says simply. "You're alive. We're going north together. That's all that matters." He should send her back. He should protect her from this life. But Ned Stark is tired of losing children, so he pulls her close, this fierce wild daughter of his, and lets himself feel something other than shame for the first time since the Sept of Baelor. "We'll get you home," he promises. "Somehow we'll get you home." Winterfell responds. The Raven reaches Winterfell 3 days after Ned's trial. Maester Luwin's hands shake as he reads it. He finds Robb in the training yard, drilling with Theon Greyjoy. "Your father lives," Luwin says. "He's been sent to the wall." For one heartbeat, Robb stands frozen. Then his sword clatters to the ground. He's alive! Alive and bound for Castle Black. Stripped of his titles and lands. A man of the Night's Watch now. Relief and rage were in Robb's chest. His father lives, but he lives in chains, dishonoured, exiled, and his sisters remain in King's Landing, hostages to Lannister mercy. That night, the Northern Lords gather in the Great Hall. Great Jon Umber pounds the table. "We march south, we burn King's Landing to ash. They took your father, your sisters." "My father is alive," Robb interrupts, his voice carrying the authority he's only just beginning to learn. That changes everything. Lady Catelyn has arrived from the Eyrie with Tyrion Lannister as her prisoner. That part of the story hasn't changed. She stands beside her son now, her voice calm but firm. If we march south seeking vengeance, Ned dies. The Lannisters will see it as breaking the terms of his exile. They'll execute him. And Sansa, she closes her eyes. We must be smart. We must negotiate. But the Northern Lords are past negotiation. They've seen their liege lord dragged south and humiliated. They've watched the Lannisters kill King Robert, imprison Ned, and threaten the Stark girls. "The North remembers," Greatjon says quietly. "We remember loyalty. We remember honour. And we remember that winter is coming. One by one the northern lords stand. They draw their swords, and they speak the words that change Westeros forever. The king in the north. Robb is crowned that night, not because he sought power, not because he wanted independence, but because the north will bend the knee to no southern king who chains their lords and calls it mercy. Catelyn sends ravens south. Her terms are clear: release Ned Stark from his vows, return Sansa and Arya safely, recognise northern independence. In exchange, King Robb will not march south. He will not ally with Stannis or Renly. The north will remain neutral in the coming war. But she also makes another move, one that will save thousands of lives. She orders Robb to honour his promise to House Frey. You will marry a Frey daughter, she tells him. I don't care if you love her. I don't care if she's beautiful. You will keep your word because that's what Starks do. That's what your father would do. Robb, thinking of Ned in chains, of honour trampled and oaths broken, agrees. The Red Wedding will never happen. Castle Black. When Eddard Stark arrives at Castle Black, Jon Snow is in the training yard, drilling recruits. He's been at the wall for months now, trying to prove himself among thieves and rapers, trying to find purpose in an organisation the realm has forgotten. He doesn't know his father is coming. No ravens fly to tell bastard sons that their fathers have fallen. So when the gates open and the caravan of new recruits arrives, Jon is among those who gather to watch. He sees the prisoners stumble out, the usual mix of desperate men and hardened criminals. Then he sees Ned. For a moment, Jon can't breathe, can't think. His father, his proud, honourable father, stands in chains, dressed in the black of the Night's Watch, looking 10 years older than when Jon last saw him. Their eyes meet across the courtyard. Jon runs. They collide in an embrace that breaks something in both of them. Ned, who has not wept since they took his head in the Sept, weeps now. And Jon, who thought he'd never see his family again, holds his father and remembers what it means to be a Stark. What happened? Jon asks when they can finally speak. Ned tells him everything. The conspiracy, the trial, the choice he made to save Sansa. He tells Jon about Arya, hidden among the recruits. He tells him about Robb's crowning, about the war that's coming. And then, in the privacy of the Lord Commander's tower, he tells Jon the truth he's carried for 16 years. You're not my son, Ned says, and watches Jon's world shatter. You're my nephew. Your mother was Lyanna Stark, my sister. Your father was Rhaegar Targaryen. The silence that follows is absolute. I'm Targaryen? Jon's voice is hollow. You're the legitimate heir to the Iron Throne, Ned continues. Born of a secret marriage, hidden to protect you from Robert's wrath. I raised you as my bastard to keep you safe. Jon stands, paces, his mind reeling. Everything he believed about himself is a lie. His mother wasn't some tavern wench. His father wasn't Ned Stark. He's not even a Snow. Why tell me now? He finally asks. Because I've seen what secrets do, Ned says quietly. Because I've lost my honour, my name, everything that defined me. But I won't lose my chance to give you the truth before I die. You deserve to know, Jon. You always deserve to know. Jon sits in silence for a long time. Then, does anyone else know? Howland Reed, and now you, that's all. Then it stays that way, Jon says firmly. I don't want the throne. I don't want to be Aegon Targaryen. I'm Jon Snow. I'm a man of the Night's Watch, and that's all I'll ever be. Ned nods slowly. Your choice, always your choice. But both men know, some secrets once spoken can never truly be buried again. The Five Kings. Westeros tears itself apart. Joffrey Baratheon sits the Iron Throne, a boy king with his mother's cruelty and none of her cunning. He calls himself King of the Seven Kingdoms, but in truth, his power extends barely beyond the Crownlands. Robb Stark is crowned king in the north. His lords love him, his bannermen would die for him, and his dire wolf Grey Wind prowls the halls of Winterfell like a shadow of the old gods themselves. Renly Baratheon crowns himself at Highgarden, backed by the strength of the Reach and the beauty of Margaery Tyrell. He is young, charismatic, beloved, and utterly doomed. Stannis Baratheon grinds his teeth at Dragonstone, convinced he is the rightful king by every law of gods and men. He has right on his side. But right has never been enough in Westeros. And in the Iron Islands, Balon Greyjoy crowns himself once more, dreaming of a kingdom built on salt and blood. 5 kings for 5 kingdoms. The realm runs red with war. But in the north, something different is happening. Robb's War. King Robb Stark does not fight for vengeance. He fights for leverage. Every battle he wins, and he wins them all, is not to conquer the south, but to prove the north cannot be defeated. The Whispering Wood, Oxcross, the Crag, Robb's tactical genius, learned from Ned and honed by necessity, makes him unbeatable in the field. But Catelyn's voice echoes in his mind. Your father is alive. Everything we do must keep him that way. So Robb fights a careful war. He captures Jaime Lannister at the Whispering Wood, the Kingslayer himself, the most valuable hostage in Westeros. Lords urge him to execute Jaime, to send his head to Cersei in a box. Robb refuses. Jaime Lannister is worth more to us alive, he tells his council. He's worth my father, my sisters, peace. At the Twins, Robb honours his promise. He marries Roslyn Fry, a quiet girl with gentle eyes and a nervous smile. It's not love, but it's duty, and Robb Stark is his father's son. Duty comes first. Lord Walder Frey, pleased to see a king wed his daughter, binds his house to the north with every soldier he has. The Freys become Robb's most loyal bannermen. Without their betrayal, without the Red Wedding, Robb's army remains whole, strong, unbeaten. Theon's folly. Theon Greyjoy still makes his terrible choice. He still sails to the Iron Islands, still seeks his father's approval, still betrays Robb to prove himself a true Greyjoy. He takes Winterfell with a handful of men, while Robb is campaigning in the Riverlands. He seizes Bran and Rickon. He plays at being a conqueror. But this time, there is no Red Wedding to distract the north. Robb learns of the betrayal within days, and his response is swift and merciless. He sends 2,000 men north under the command of Roose Bolton. They retake Winterfell in a single night. Theon is captured, dragged before Robb in chains. You were my brother, Robb says, and there's genuine grief in his voice. I trusted you. I'm a Greyjoy, Theon spits back, trying to sound defiant, but his voice shakes. No, Robb says quietly. You're nothing. The execution is quick. Robb swings the sword himself, as his father taught him. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. Theon Greyjoy dies on his knees in the courtyard of Winterfell. There is no torture, no Ramsay Bolton, just a clean death for a dirty betrayal. And in that death, a monster is never born. Ramsay Bolton remains the bastard of the Dreadfort, unknown and unimportant. The Battle of the Blackwater. In King's Landing, Tyrion Lannister prepares to defend the city against Stannis Baratheon's assault. The wildfire, the chain, the desperate battle on the Blackwater, all of it happens as it did before. Stannis nearly wins. His men breach the walls. Victory is within reach. Then Tywin Lannister arrives with the Tyrell army. The battle turns. Stannis is broken, his fleet destroyed, his army scattered. But the aftermath is different. Tywin is not triumphant, he is exhausted. The war against the north has cost him thousands of men, vast amounts of gold, and no progress whatsoever. Robb Stark remains undefeated in the field. The Riverlands are in open revolt, and now Stannis, though beaten, still holds Dragonstone and Storm's End. That night, Tywin Lannister makes the hardest decision of his life. He calls his council, Tyrion, Cersei, Pycelle, Varys, Littlefinger. We cannot win this war, he says flatly. Not all of it. Robb Stark is unbeatable in the field. Stannis will rebuild. If we continue fighting on all fronts, we will bleed ourselves dry. What do you propose? Tyrion asks carefully. Negotiation. We let the north go. Cersei's face purples with rage. You would reward treason? I would save House Lannister. Tywin interrupts coldly. We recognize northern independence. We release Eddard Stark from his vows. We return Sansa Stark unharmed. In exchange, Robb Stark pledges neutrality. He does not aid Stannis. He does not march south. The North remains north, and we focus on holding the other 6 kingdoms. The room erupts in argument, but Tywin's word is final. Ravens fly north. The offer is made. The Treaty of the Twins. Robb Stark receives Tywin's offer. In his pavilion at the Twins, his lords are divided. It's everything we fought for, Catelyn argues. Your father's freedom, Sansa's safety, independence. It's surrender, Great Janumba growls. We're winning. We could take King's Landing. And lose 10,000 men doing it, Robb counters. While the Ironborn raid our coasts, while winter comes, while my father rots at the wall and Sansa remains a hostage. He looks at his mother. We accept. The treaty is signed at the Twins, fitting that the crossing between north and south is where the realm divides. Terms are clear. The North is an independent kingdom. Eddard Stark is released from the Night's Watch by royal decree. Sansa Stark is returned to Winterfell with a dowry as apology. Jaime Lannister is released in exchange. The North pledges neutrality in the wars of the South. The War of the 5 Kings becomes the War of the 4 Kings. The North has won its independence without conquering anyone. Robb Stark proves that victory doesn't always mean more bloodshed. Sometimes it means knowing when to stop. Ned's return. When word reaches Castle Black that Eddard Stark has been released from his vows, the Night's Watch erupts in controversy. A man cannot leave the watch, old Sir Alistair Thorne argues. His vows are for life. But Lord Commander Jeor Mormont, pragmatic as always, sees the political reality. A royal decree releases him. We don't have the strength to argue with southern politics. Ned should be relieved. He should be grateful. But as he prepares to leave Castle Black, to return to Winterfell, he finds himself reluctant. Jon finds him standing atop the wall, staring north into the haunted forest. You're free, Jon says. Why do you look like a man going to his execution? Because I've seen it, Ned says quietly. Beyond the wall, the dead things in the woods, the rangers who don't return. Mormont took me on a ranging. I saw enough to know. Everything we're fighting for in the south. All of it means nothing if we're not ready for what's coming from the north. Then tell them, Jon says. Go home. Tell Robb. Tell the realm. Prepare them. Ned turns to his son, his nephew, and sees the man Jon has become. Strong, capable, a leader. You'll stay? Ned asks. The watch is my place, Jon says. It's where I belong, and someone needs to defend the wall when the dead come. Better it be someone who knows what's coming. They embrace one last time. Father and son, uncle and nephew. 2 men bound by love and lies in the long winter ahead. Ned rides south with Arya at his side, home to Winterfell, home to family. But part of him remains at the wall, knowing the true war hasn't even begun. Winterfell reunited. The gates of Winterfell open to receive a king and a ghost. Robb Stark rides at the head of his army, crown on his head, grey wind loping beside his horse. Beside him rides Sansa, returned from King's Landing, older and quieter than the girl who left. But all eyes are on the 2 riders who follow. Eddard Stark and Arya Stark, thought lost, returned from the edge of the world. Bran waits in the courtyard in his wheeled chair. Rickon stands beside him, nearly as tall as Bran now, growing like a weed. And Catelyn runs. She reaches Ned and pulls him from his horse, holds him like he'll disappear if she lets go. You're home, she sobs. You're home. I'm home, Ned whispers into her hair. We're all home. That night, the Stark family sits together in the Great Hall, all of them except Jon, far away at the wall. They eat, they talk, they pretend everything is normal, but nothing is normal. Robb is a king now, bearing weight no 19-year-old should carry. Sansa has seen horrors in King's Landing that have stolen her innocence. Bran is broken in body, though his mind reaches into strange places, dreams of wolves and ravens and the ancient magic of the north. Arya is half feral, more comfortable with a sword than a sewing needle. And Ned is a man without a title, without a purpose, haunted by visions of blue-eyed corpses and the long night coming. But they're together. For now, that's enough. The independent North. King Robb Stark faces the challenge of ruling an independent kingdom. The North has never stood alone. For 8,000 years, they've bent the knee to someone. The kings of winter, the Targaryens, the Baratheons. Now they stand free, and freedom comes with complications. Trade routes to the south are disrupted. The Ironborn raid the western coast. Winter is coming, and the north must prepare without southern grain to sustain them. Robb proves himself a capable ruler. He strengthens the navy at White Harbour. He sends ships to Essos to establish new trade. He fortifies the neck, making it clear that any southern army would die trying to invade. But his greatest strength is his council. Catelyn handles diplomacy. She rebuilds relationships with the Vale, where her sister Lisa still rules. She negotiates trade with the free cities. Ned, though no longer a lord, becomes Robb's most trusted advisor. He teaches his son the hard lessons of leadership: when to be merciful, when to be hard, how to balance justice with necessity. And Sansa, surprisingly, emerges as a keen political mind. King's Landing taught her to see beneath the surface, to read people's intentions, to play the game. She manages the household, handles correspondence with other houses, and slowly rebuilds her trust in the world. Arya, meanwhile, refuses every attempt to make her a lady. Brienne of Tarth, who in this timeline survived the war and pledged herself to House Stark, becomes Arya's mentor. Together, they train, spar, and Arya becomes one of the finest fighters in the North. She's not an assassin, she's not faceless. She's Arya Stark of Winterfell, and she'll protect her family with steel and skill. The South burns. While the North builds, the South bleeds. Joffrey dies at his wedding, just as before, poisoned by Olenna Tyrell and Littlefinger. Tommen becomes king, gentle and weak. Cersei, paranoid and desperate to maintain control, makes a catastrophic mistake. She arms the faith militant. The High Sparrow rises. The sparrows in their rough-spun clothes spread through King's Landing like a plague. They preach about sin and decadence. They attack the nobility. And they set their sights on Queen Margaery and Queen Mother Cersei. The trials begin. The Walk of Atonement. The whole grotesque spectacle that showed the show's darkest side. But Tywin Lannister lives, because in this timeline, Tyrion's trial plays out differently. Tyrion is still accused of Joffrey's murder. He still demands trial by combat. But this time, Tywin intervenes before the trial can conclude. Enough, Tywin commands. My son did not kill the king, but he has embarrassed this family enough. Exile. Send him to Essos. Banish him from Westeros. He's more useful to us alive and distant than dead and martyred. Tyrion is exiled, not executed. He sails east, eventually making his way to Meereen, where rumour says a silver-haired queen rules with dragons. With Tyrion gone but alive, he never kills Tywin. The old lion remains Hand of the King, trying desperately to control the chaos his daughter has unleashed with the faith. The South fractures into religious war, political scheming, and slow decay. The North watches from a distance and thanks the old gods they're no longer part of it. Jon at the Wall. 300 miles north of Winterfell, Jon Snow leads ranging parties beyond the wall. He's not Lord Commander yet, but everyone knows it's only a matter of time. He still meets Ygritte, still falls in love, still betrays her to return to Castle Black. But when he returns, when mutiny threatens, because he wants to let the wildlings through the wall, he has something the original Jon didn't: support from the king in the north. Robb sends men, supplies, resources, a royal decree. The wildlings are not our enemies. The dead are. With northern support, Jon's position is unassailable. The mutiny dies before it begins. The wildlings cross the wall, 30,000 of them, and swell the ranks of defenders. Jon Snow becomes Lord Commander of the Night's Watch at 20 years old, the youngest in history, and under his command, the Watch transforms from a dying order into a real army. He sends ravens to every corner of Westeros. The dead are coming. Prepare. Most ignore him, but some listen, and beyond the wall, in the land of always winter, the Night King gathers his forces and waits. Winter is coming, and with it, the long night. The Dragon Queen sails west. Across the narrow sea, Daenerys Targaryen breaks chains and conquers cities. Astapor, Yunkai, Meereen, she is Daenerys Stormborn, the unburnt, mother of dragons, breaker of chains. And she wants to go home. Tyrion Lannister finds her in Meereen as before. He becomes her advisor, helps her navigate the politics of ruling, and he tells her about Westeros, about the fractured kingdoms, the wars, the chaos. He also tells her about Jon Snow. There's another Targaryen, Tyrion says carefully, Rhaegar's son, raised by Ned Stark as a bastard. He commands the Night's Watch now. Daenerys' eyes narrow. Another heir? Or an ally, Tyrion suggests. Your nephew? Family? Together, you could unite the Seven Kingdoms, or what's left of them. Daenerys considers this. In the original timeline, she was the last dragon. Alone. Special. The thought of sharing power, of sharing her destiny, was intolerable. But Tyrion is persuasive. You want the Iron Throne? You'll need allies in Westeros. The North is independent and strong. Win them to your side, and the South will fall. Daenerys sets sail with her dragons, her Unsullied, her Dothraki. She lands at Dragonstone and sends ravens to every corner of Westeros. To King's Landing, bend the knee or burn. To the north, I am Daenerys Targaryen, rightful queen of the Seven Kingdoms. I know a Targaryen serves at the wall. I offer alliance. Together, we can restore our house and bring peace to the realm. The summit at Dragonstone. When Daenerys Raven reaches Winterfell, the council debates for days. Another mad Targaryen, Greatnumber growls. Another conqueror who thinks she can rule us. But Ned Stark, who has seen the dead, knows what's at stake. We need her dragons. Whatever the cost, the Night King cannot be defeated without fire. Robb makes his decision. I'll go to Dragonstone. I'll meet this Dragon Queen, but I'm not bending the knee. The North fought for its independence. We'll negotiate as equals or not at all. Then take Jon, Ned says. He's the link between you. He's Targaryen by blood, Stark by raising. If anyone can bridge this divide, it's him. Ravens fly to Castle Black. Jon leaves the wall in the command of Ed Tollett and rides south to Winterfell. Then together, Jon and Robb sail to Dragonstone. The meeting is tense. Daenerys sits on the throne, her dragons perch behind her, radiating power. She is every inch a queen. Beautiful, terrible, certain of her destiny. Robb approaches as a king in his own right. Grey wind at his side, crown on his head. He bows slightly, but does not kneel. Your Grace, Robb says, I am Robb Stark, king in the North. I've come to discuss alliance, not submission. The North is part of the Seven Kingdoms, Daenerys responds coolly. I don't negotiate with subjects. The North won its independence in blood, Robb counters. We are no one's subjects. They circle each other verbally. Two young rulers, neither willing to bend. Then Jon steps forward. My name is Jon Snow, he says quietly. I command the Night's Watch. I've seen the army of the dead. I've fought them. And I'm here to tell you that none of this matters. Not crowns, not thrones, not kingdoms, if we don't survive what's coming. Daenerys studies him. There's something in his face, something that reminds her of... Tyrion clears his throat. Your Grace, there's something you should know about Jon Snow. And in that throne room on Dragonstone, with dragons circling overhead and the sounds of the sea crashing below, Tyrion reveals the truth. Jon Snow is not Ned Stark's bastard. He's the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. He's your nephew. By law of succession, he's the heir to the Iron Throne. Silence. Daenerys stares at Jon. Jon stares at the floor. Robb watches carefully, hand on his sword hilt. "Is this true?" Daenerys finally asks. Jon nods slowly. "I didn't ask for it. I don't want it. I'm a crow. The Night's Watch is my life. But yes, it's true." For a long moment, Daenerys says nothing. She spent her whole life believing she was the last Targaryen, the rightful queen, the chosen one. Now there's another, a male heir. By Westerosi law, his claim is stronger. She could see him as a rival, an obstacle, a threat. But Daenerys has learned something in Meereen, something the original Daenerys never quite grasped. Power is not diminished by sharing it. "Then we are family," she says finally. She descends from the throne, approaches Jon. "You don't want the Iron Throne?" "I want to save the living from the dead," Jon says simply. "That's all." Daenerys nods slowly. Then she turns to Robb. "The North won its freedom. I understand that. I broke chains in Slaver's Bay. I don't intend to forge new ones here. Remain independent if you must, but fight beside me. Help me take the South, then help me defend the realm. That's all I ask. It's not submission. It's alliance," Robb considers, then extends his hand. The North remembers its friends. "Help us defeat the Night King, and we'll help you take your throne. After that, we'll see what kind of queen you are." Daenerys takes his hand. The Dragon Queen and the Wolf King make their pact. The wall falls. The Night King comes with 100,000 dead and a dragon of his own. In the original timeline, Daenerys lost Viserion beyond the wall in a desperate rescue mission. Here, the dragon's death happens differently, during a ranging where Jon and Daenerys work together to evacuate wildlings from Hardhome. The Night King kills Viserion with an ice spear, raises him as a creature of frost and death, and uses him to bring down the wall. The Horn of Winter sounds. The ancient magic shatters. The wall, that 8,000-year-old barrier between life and death, falls in a cascade of ice and stone, an ancient sorcery. The long night begins. The battle for the dawn. Winterfell becomes humanity's last stand. Every living soul capable of holding a weapon gathers in the north. The armies of Winterfell, the Night's Watch, the wildlings. Daenerys is unsullied and Dothraki, even knights from the Vale sent by Robb and Arryn at Sansa's request. Ned Stark walks the battlements the night before the battle. He's 60 years old, his hair grey, his body marked by scars and years of hard living. He's not a lord anymore, not a warrior, just a man trying to protect his family one more time. Jon finds him there. "You should be inside," Jon says. "You don't need to fight." "I stood on this wall when your mother was born," Ned says quietly. "When your grandfather died. When I brought you here as a baby, knowing I'd lie about you for the rest of my life. This is where I belong." Jon stands beside him. Uncle and nephew. Two men who carry Targaryen blood and Stark honour in equal measure. "After this," Jon says, "if we survive, what will you do?" Ned smiles faintly. "If we survive this, I'll know that honour means something after all. That truth matters, that the lies I told, the shame I carried, maybe they were worth it, because you're here, my children are here, and we're fighting for something that matters." The dead come with the dawn. The battle is everything the show should have been. Desperate, brutal, impossible. The dead swarm over the walls like a tide. Dragons burn the night sky. The living fall back, step by bloody step. In the Godswood, Bran waits. He's been touched by the Night King before. He's marked, and he's the bait. The Night King comes. Theon Greyjoy. Wait, no. Theon is dead in this timeline. Instead, it's Brienne who makes the stand. Brienne of Tarth, who has sworn her sword to House Stark, who fights beside Podrick Payne and holds the line. But it's not enough. The Night King breaks through. He walks toward Bran, ancient and terrible, death incarnate, and Eddard Stark steps into his path. "You won't have him," Ned says. Raising ice, the Valyrian steel greatsword reclaimed from King's Landing, returned to House Stark as part of the treaty. "You won't have my son." The Night King tilts his head, almost curious. This old man, this broken warrior, thinks he can stand against the apocalypse? They fight. It's not a heroic duel. Ned is old, tired, past his prime. The Night King is death itself. stronger and faster, and utterly without mercy. The ice blade pierces Ned's chest, but as he falls, Ned's hand locks around the Night King's arm. He holds him there, refusing to let go even as frost spreads through his veins, even as his heart stops. Now, Ned whispers with his dying breath, Arya Stark strikes from the shadows. She's not an assassin. She didn't train in Braavos, but she trained with her father, with Brienne, with every knight in the north. She's Arya Stark of Winterfell, and she's been waiting for this moment. The Valyrian steel dagger, the same one that was used in an attempt on Bran's life a lifetime ago, plunges into the Night King's heart. He shatters. The dead fall like puppets with cut strings. The long night ends, and Eddard Stark dies in his daughter's arms, having saved the world one final time. After the dawn, they burn the dead, so many dead. The godswood becomes a mass pyre, and the smoke rises for days. Eddard Stark is laid to rest in the crypts of Winterfell, beside his father, his brother, his sister. A statue is carved, not of a lord in his prime, but of a man holding a sword, standing guard even in death. The inscription reads, "Here lies Eddard Stark. He kept his oath." With the Night King defeated, Daenerys and Jon turn south. King's Landing still stands under Cersei's rule. Yes, Cersei survived here too, more cunning and desperate than ever. But the battle for King's Landing is different. Daenerys doesn't go mad. She doesn't burn innocents, because she fought beside humans to save humanity. She's earned her throne through sacrifice, not terror. The siege is quick. The city surrenders. Cersei tries to burn it all with wildfire, but Jaime stops her. They die together, but the city survives. Daenerys Targaryen sits the Iron Throne, but the realm she inherits is broken, exhausted, fundamentally changed. The North remains independent under Queen Sansa Stark. Robb abdicated after the war, wanting only to live peacefully with his wife and children. Jon Snow returns to the Wall. He rebuilds the Night's Watch, not as a prison, but as a guardian force. The Wall is broken, but its purpose remains. Someone must watch for the threats that might return. Tyrion becomes Hand of the Queen. Arya travels west to see what's beyond the maps. Bran remains at Winterfell, the last Greenseer, watching over the north through the eyes of wolves and ravens. And in the crypts, Ned's voice echoes, "Winter came, we survived, and honour in the end meant something after all." This is what could have been. A Game of Thrones where honour doesn't get you killed, it saves the world. Where families stay together long enough to fight for something that matters. Where characters grow and change and earn their endings. Eddard Stark's survival changed everything. One act of mercy by a cruel boy king, one moment where Cersei's pragmatism won out over Joffrey's spite, and the entire story shifts. He still dies. Heroes often do, but he dies having seen his children safe, his family whole, and his world saved from darkness. That's the ending Game of Thrones deserved. That's the story Westeros forgot.